There are two types of people out there. First, there are people with a victim mentality and who are dependent on the government, society, their employers, and their families. The second type of people are those who are responsible and take ownership of their destinies. Last week, I was listening to the news on the radio, and a lady came on and said that 5 years ago, she forgot her 2-year-old daughter in the back seat of her car during a hot summer day. The 2-year-old died from the heat. The lady was saying that cars nowadays have sensors to remind you to buckle your seatbelt, to remind you not to leave your keys in the car. But most cars do not have sensors to remind you not to leave your child in the back seat. She said, had these car manufacturers been more responsible and installed sensors to remind me to check my back seat, they wouldn't have killed my daughter. She was a victim of the evil car manufacturers. When we accept to be a victim, we fail to take responsibility for our actions. We fail to look for opportunities to grow and change. We become dependent on others. Our society in general is becoming more and more dependent, and this is not good. In the old days, when a young person turned 16 years old, they got a job and started paying their expenses. And by the time they turned 18 years old, they were functioning adults, able to support themselves and contribute in a positive way to society. Nowadays, we're having a hard time getting our kids to grow up and become responsible. After being locked up in our houses with our kids for a little over 2 months, we realize that the government isn't doing a very good job at educating and disciplining our kids for us. We have become dependent on the government to do one of the most important jobs that we have. As we build our legacies, the success of our children is very important, and we have to do a better job. We have become dependent on the systems that surround us. We think that Walmart and Amazon are always going to be there for us and have everything that we need stocked on their shelves. But we know now that they can run out of toilet paper and beans and rice pretty quick. We should be prepared with a few extras in our storage. We should not depend on them to keep what we need most in stock all the time. A lot of us live paycheck to paycheck. We assume that the direct deposit is going to be there every week. And I really hope it always is. But that is no way to live. We need to reduce our household expenses, especially those things that we buy on credit. It is easy to become a slave to our creditors. We need to have enough money saved up so that we can survive at least a month without a paycheck. There's an awesome feeling to know that no matter what, you will be okay financially if something bad happens. Let's learn how to live within our means. Discipline equals freedom. We will have freedom to retire, help those loved ones in need, go on trips, send someone to college, or even make an important investment if we will have discipline and watch our expenses. We are at an interesting point with the government's response to COVID-19. There have been a little over 100,000 people die with COVID-19, but there have been only a portion of them that have actually died from COVID-19. Hospitals are getting paid an extra $13,000 for each COVID patient that they diagnose. I saw a report from LA the other day that there was a gang shooting a few weeks ago. And the man that was shot was taken to the hospital and he tested positive for COVID. So on the death certificate, they listed the cause of death as COVID-19. The government is motivating the hospitals to inflate the numbers of COVID deaths so they can scare us. Why do they want to scare us? Because they want to control us. They want us to become victims and dependents on the government. There are important elections this year, and they want to use this for their political gain. There might have been more people that have died from suicide, alcoholism, drug overdose, mental illness, and being locked up in their kids and wife for over 2 months than from actually dying from the coronavirus. The cure is worse than the disease. That's what happens when we depend on others who don't have our best interests at heart. Lucky for us, we live in Arizona, where our governor has deemed construction as an essential service. There were still a lot of businesses that could have stayed open, but used Corona as an excuse not to complete projects or continue working. They decided to be victims and look for handouts. We did not. We came up with some really good ideas on how to keep everyone safe, and then we implemented them. We made our own sanitizer and disinfectant spray because we couldn't buy any in the stores. We established social distancing. We paid people to stay home if they had symptoms. And we took ownership of our destiny. That's who we are. Now the path forward from our governor is pretty much that each of us is responsible for our safety, for our own safety. Most everything, including water parks, is open for business. It is up to us to keep ourselves and our families safe. Coronavirus is still going around. We need to keep our immune system strong. Vitamin D is important for a strong immune system, and we get vitamin D from the sun. There isn't a lot of sun when you're sheltering in place. Let's not depend on our government to take care of us. We must take ownership of our situation and our futures. And that's who we are. When I decided to start Dagan Construction back in 2007, the economy was already beginning to fail. The company I'd been working at had forced me to lay off some of my friends and some of the hardest working guys I knew. I had tried to pivot from house slabs to site work so that we wouldn't have to lay anyone off, but the system and the large company bureaucracy didn't let that happen. I got frustrated and decided I needed to take ownership of my destiny so I could take care of my guys. I did not have any resources to start a company. I owned a 1999 Ford F-150 with about 180,000 miles on it, a shovel and a wheelbarrow. And I had enough money between my savings and my tax return to put a down payment on the insurance that we needed so we could do work for some of the bigger companies. I had an American Express credit card with a pretty high limit on it that I used for gas and materials and for my family expenses for quite a while. We started on Monday, April 16th, 2007, with 10 guys. We had no money for payroll, but we started with a leap of faith. The road looked impossible, and it got harder and harder for the next 3 years, but we never gave up. We were humble and desperate enough that we would take on any type of work. One job we got was to weld up some head wall grates for a 30-inch storm drain that ran through a subdivision in Anthem. A few months after we installed them, the customer called and said that the homeowners in the area were complaining about a dead smell, and it was coming from the catch basins in front of their houses. We investigated and found that a pack of javelina had gotten trapped in the pipe when we put the grates on the head walls. The customer said he needed to pay us to remove those decomposing animals, so we agreed. Somehow, Edgar Aragon drew the short straw and had to climb in and retrieve them. He put about a half a bottle of Vicks all over his face so that he couldn't smell. and rolled into the 30-inch diameter storm drain, laying face down on a skateboard with a rope tied to his leg so we could pull him out when he was ready. Once he grabbed the rotted javelinas. That was money well earned that day. We'd do just about anything anyone asked us to do because we didn't want to be victims of this terrible economy, like so many others were. A few of the things that we did was cut down trees. We patched asphalt. We crack sealed asphalt. We bought and ran a street sweeper. We installed street signs. We fixed flood damaged trails and golf courses. We installed pavers. We raked the landscape rock, cut weeds, pretty much anything else anyone would pay us to do. This is who we were, and this is who we still are today. We all know that we must own our destinies. It is up to us if we succeed or we fail. Dagan's mission is first to provide opportunities for our people to succeed and build their legacies. We want everyone to grow and be in a better spot next year than they were this year. In order for this to happen, we each have to take action. We cannot do it for ourselves. We need to take advantage of opportunities to take classes and learn and grow. The second part of Dagan's mission is to serve each other and the communities in which we live. The greatest joy we will experience in this life is when we can help someone who cannot help themselves. If I ever feel bad for myself, all I need to do to feel better is to go serve someone in need. Then suddenly, my burdens seem insignificant when I experience the problems that others have. We cannot succeed in this life without caring for those who are around us. The last part of Dagan's mission is that we will build projects that will have lasting value for our customers. We want each project to be done right. We never want to look back or worry about poor quality or have a customer think that we did not give more than what they paid for. The only way we can accomplish this mission is if each of us will take ownership of our lives, careers, and futures. We are not victims. We have the power to change the future if we will only do it. Hard times are the best times to learn and grow. I thank God today for the troubles that I've had in my life. I don't ever want to go back there again, but those were the times when I grew. I remembered what was important in life, and I was humble enough to change. If I had tried to blame others, I would not be here today. Let's use difficult times to reflect and commit to do better. Don't ever give up. Last month in my safety meeting, I talked about the importance of having common sense when it comes to safety. Most accidents can be avoided if we would just have more common sense. I want to add that we must understand that each of us is responsible for our own safety. We cannot be victims and expect OSHA or Dagan or our supervisor or our foreman to keep us safe. Yes, Dagan has a responsibility to give us the PPE that we need to wear, but only you can make sure you wear it. Dagan has a responsibility to teach us how to perform our job safely, but only you can implement that training into your skill set. Dagan will pay you every day to perform a job hazard analysis so you can recognize and mitigate the risks on a job site. But you must implement and follow what you discussed during your JHA. We must understand that each of us is responsible for our own safety. We take calculated risks every day. From the time we get into our cars, we must wear our seatbelts, put our phones down, and pay attention while we drive. It is up to us to stay safe. Our job sites are dangerous. We will never eliminate all the dangers. We each need to take responsibility of our own personal safety. We must stay alert. We must have common sense and watch out for each other. When we don't feel safe, stop. Tell a supervisor. Let's assess the situation. Get more training. Eliminate the hazard, or find a safer way to perform the task. But you have to be proactive and not expect someone else to keep you safe. It's not their job. Only you can keep you safe. Thanks.